The burden of my heart, Mr. Speaker, sir, has everything to do with the Constitution. I'm a great believer of the Constitution and constitutionalism, democracy and democratization, the law and the rule of law, checks and balances, rights and human rights, life and human life. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's now about 2 months, and literally I've never heard a second of sleep. And this is taking a high toll on my life, Mr. Speaker. And the simple reason is because I feel restless for as long as Dr. Besigye continues to be under illegal incarceration. And I'm asking myself, what is my place in this house? And how do I want to be remembered? Because history will confront me. What did you kids do? And Mr. Speaker, my procedural issue is the Supreme Court was crystal clear that effective Friday, January 31st, Dr. Besigye and those that are incarcerated with him were free citizens. I'm out of pain, Mr. Speaker, sir. Every time I get countless calls from my community and all over the country, what are you doing? Mr. Speaker, sir, my procedural issue is just simple and flawed. Are we as a house proceeding well when the very Constitution that we swore to protect, preserve, and defend is being abrogated and violated at our words? If you're going to burn everybody, God forbid.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. No, but we have a procedure matter. Yeah. Now, Honorable Atkins, I really feel for you, my honorable colleague. But the problem is, where do we stop as Parliament? Parliament cannot implement court orders. Parliament, when your people ask you what you've done, you tell them you've spoken. And you raised the issues, because that's all I can do. I don't think I can close Parliament. I say we now go in protest. We were not party to this case. We were just interested as Ugandans. We tasked the Attorney General yesterday to come here and explain. Colleagues, there are things, I mean, that's where our powers here can stop. Can stop. I cannot start now saying you're in contempt, you're in what? No. Okay? We were not even served because we are not parties. So all we are hearing, please let the parties to the case handle this matter. I request honorable colleagues, let the parties to the case handle this matter. Honorable Numbers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a way of procedure still, when, Mr. Speaker, you talk about the helplessness of Parliament, you really worry me, Mr. Speaker.
No, just wait a bit, Honorable Numbers. I didn't say Parliament is helpless. What I said is Parliament can only Parliament can only exercise the powers it has. Okay? And this is a matter where we are not parties. This is a matter where we are not parties. So I don't know, what do you want Parliament to do?
Mr. Speaker, I refer to Article 79 that talks about the function of Parliament and the oath we took when we are joining this August House, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, we are required, in my own interpretation, for which you can still guide me, Mr. Speaker, that we are supposed to do all within our means to safeguard the Constitution of Uganda and to make sure that this country is governed democratically and in accordance to the laws of the country. And Mr. Speaker, through our various organs of this Parliament, I think, Mr. Speaker, that we can do more than talking, in that, Mr. Speaker, this is the House, first of all, that has a group of people together who have taken an oath to defend the Constitution. And whenever the Constitution is under attack, the Parliament of Uganda, in my own understanding, is supposed to be at the forefront in safeguarding the Constitution and fighting for its implementation in totality. So, Mr. Speaker, when you said at ours that we should go back and tell our people that we talked about it and that is all we can do, Mr. Speaker, I want you to guide me. If there isn't any other way, Parliament can demonstrate, can act. For example, Mr. Speaker, these are institutions whose budget is approved by this House. These are institutions to which we are supposed to call out oversight laws over them, where we can, Mr. Speaker, summon people here. So, Mr. Speaker, I want, as a whole procedure, to guide me if it is wrong for me to assume that this House can do much, much more than talking when somebody is violating the Constitution of this country, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now, honorable colleagues, this case had parties. Okay? The parties to the case are handling their issues. Parliament has not received any formal communication from any of the parties that please help us. We are stuck. Yes, because they have their lawyers, they speak through their lawyers, we can handle issues formally. Number two, if there is any contempt or what, if there is any contempt and issues of playing around with the judgment, and the same court, you go to the same court and it will give you solutions. Very simple. The individuals who can be accused of contempt will be held liable. But as of now, Parliament here, apart from us really eating more time and going on record that we spoke, I can tell you there is nothing we are going to do beyond speaking. I'm being honest. In my tribe, we are very honest people. In Parliament, we only talk. In Parliament, we can't do anything beyond talking. We only talk. And I want to be honest to you. So if you think I will send some of you to go and capture people, I won't. Here we only talk, and you should know your power is for talking and coming up with resolutions. Okay? Honorable Semuju.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for clarifying, because the honorable numbers, I share her understanding of your communication, i.e., that your communication until you clarify, it meant that Parliament is helpless. That's why I'm thanking you for clarifying. I have been here for a while. There was a time a colleague was arrested in total violation of the Constitution. The Speaker of Parliament then said, we will suspend the sitting of Parliament until that MP is released. And the Parliament was suspended and he was released. Mr. Speaker, I fear when you say that our power stops just by talking. And I also fear, Mr. Speaker, when you limit the judgment of the Supreme Court to the parties. This judgment is for the whole country and is for everybody to do under Article 3 of the Constitution whatever it takes to defend the Constitution. You see, the trouble is that we may think this is limited to SJ and Ajobed Dutare and NUP supporters who are there. There will be a time when they will be coming for you. I told you in Ruzira where I was, Jim Mwezi had been. So was Gilbert Bukenya. Kutesa nearly came. I saw the other day when Honorable Akamba was being grabbed as a chicken thief. These things, the reason we must fight, they are not limited to the victims of today. Tomorrow you are going to be the victim. Wait, Honorable Bua, when they are taking you and you are crying. I visited Honorable Kurisi Wariomus at Jinja Road. They had even denied him slippers. That giant man. And the Honorable Nabukenya here is the one who stood surety for Chris.
Point of order.
Right Honorable Speaker, I have always attempted to live within the laws of the land. Is it in order for my honorable colleague to wish me bad luck in anticipation of me? Is it in order really?
I think these are issues we can sort of under Matoput arrangement and but Honorable Semuju, I just beg for one thing, okay? Make it very easy for me. What do you want us to do as Parliament in practical terms?
I have a motion, Mr. Speaker, to suspend the sittings of Parliament. I thought we have discipline. If one MP is speaking, even if you want, here people speak by expressing interest. They don't shout like they are in a market.
Now I don't know, on record, I don't know whom we can record that you are quarreling with.
It is very difficult.
So Honorable Semuju, continue.
It is very difficult, Mr. Speaker, to record the people who are shouting like my neighbor from Kabola. It's very difficult. But the point I am making, and I am sorry if the Honorable Government Whip took it that way, but where you are seated, SJ used to sit as the State Minister for Internal Affairs. He actually was the chief. He was political commissar of the party where they have accommodated you. He started it by risking his own life. So when I am inviting you, I am not undermining you. I am only reminding you that one day they may treat you the way they are treating USG. So that's the point I made.
But
so
wish
Mr.
him
Speaker,
well. Wish him well.
No, I want to invite him to join the war to defend the Constitution. I don't have to wish him well. So if you defend the Constitution, you will not be a victim. But even if I wish you well, I wish USG well every day. I didn't know he will be in Ruzira.
So, honorable colleagues, please time.
My motion, Mr. Speaker, is that you suspend the sittings of Parliament until government commits itself to full implementation of the judgment of the Supreme Court.
But there is a motion on the floor. Yes. The motion does not fall within the ambits of 59(1)(k). Yeah, so I'm sorry about that.
Procedure.
You read the rules of motions without notice. Okay? So, please, let me allow Honorable Jonathan Odur.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in my thinking, when we sit in this House, we expect the executive to be answerable to the issues and that has been raised by members from both sides. I really empathize with you, Mr. Speaker, when I see you are laboring to explain things that are really not in your hands, and we have a competent bench of ministers here. Who are the ones responsible for execution, including holding people on remand and releasing them. The orders that the Supreme Court made, and I've picked one, and for me, the orders of the Chief Justice, given that he's the one who wrote the lead judgment, the rest of the justices agreed with him and added. One was that the files, the cases be transferred. Now the lawyers who are here know that once that order is made, the registries, we would have expected the court-martial registry to write a cover letter with all the files to the chief registrar if they don't know which particular court to transfer. So we are blessed with the presence of the Attorney General here. And it is now day 3 of that. We expect the Attorney General to update us that so far we have transferred this number of files, or by tomorrow we would have transferred this number of files, so that at least we are comforted that some steps, because on that particular one, I'm not talking about release. I'm not talking about release. I'm talking about the transfer, which is outside of files, which is not in the realms of the two parties. I expect the Attorney General to address us on that matter, so that we don't go back and forth, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, I think, Honorable Jonathan, you've made it very easy. The problem, a member cannot come on point of procedure, I go to the minister to answer. Because procedure is for me, how I'm running the house here. So the colleagues, the questions they were asking were all on procedure. But I think this should have been the question. Honorable Attorney General, update us. You updated us yesterday, we understand, but what are the new developments? So Attorney General? Yeah. And honorable colleagues, I've closed procedure on this matter. On this matter, I have closed procedure. Please.
Honorable Speaker, I firstly want to implore you to tap into your patience abilities, and I know you can really be patient. I just want to encourage you to bear with the members and exercise a lot more of the patience which I credit you for having. Our roles in this House are 4 cardinal roles. Number 1 is legislation. Number 2 is oversight. Number 3 is the budgetary process. Number 4 is representation. Honorable Speaker, in this House, members raise anything and everything for as long as they are representing, even if it is one individual. And that's why members keep raising this issue again and again, because there seems to be no end in sight. They are playing their cardinal role of representation. And as one colleague has mentioned, this goes beyond Dr. Kiza Besigye, the NUP, political prisoners, and others. It's for all of us that the Supreme Court of the land issued a directive, and to date there is ping pong. Honorable Speaker, each day that passes by, people are suffering, and yet they should not. And that's our concern. So the reason people keep raising this matter, and I want to appreciate colleagues who keep raising this matter. I know, right, Honorable Speaker, you're saying they keep raising it so that they are seen to talk. Well, we come here to talk on behalf of people out there. And like I said, even if it is one person, we should fight for the right of that one individual. Honorable Speaker, government needs to help us. Because yesterday we were with the Attorney General. He did not help us. I think he was being quixotic on many things. Back and forth, saying this, that, and the other. And so there was no end in sight. I'm hoping that the Deputy Attorney General, who is here, will help us to shape up, whether it be some kind of timeline, whether it be some kind of hope that what the Supreme Court ordered is going to be followed. That's the cry of us, right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. And I really want to appreciate you, because the same with Honorable Dur. Okay, if this was put to government, I would call on government to answer. I can't answer on their behalf. Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to appreciate Honorable Jonathan Odur, who was more direct, like the others who intended to reopen debate that we had yesterday. I do understand the anxiety and the need to know what is going on, following the decision of the Supreme Court. But I want you to understand that there are procedures, there are processes to be followed. As Attorney General's chambers, we would expect that if the court-martial is to hand over the files, because remember the Supreme Court says the trials should cease and be transferred. So once they do that, they would copy us in as Attorney General's chambers. We have not yet received that copy. And I'm not going to stand here before Parliament and commit and say we'll table a copy of the transfer list, because I do not know how fast it is being worked upon. However, what I can say as Attorney General's chambers, that we will continue to engage with the court-martial and the others involved to see to it that this judgment is put in effect. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Attorney General. I don't have anyone on the floor. Yes. I think what Attorney General has answered is in relation to yesterday's. Since yesterday, there are no new updates.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. With all due respect to the Land Attorney General, he has just made a huge contradiction of his superior. Yesterday, his superior informed this House that as far as the court ruling and orders stand, there is no court-martial in existence. For him, he's informing us that he is still engaging with the court-martial. Mr. Speaker, sir. So which is which?
And I think that's why we need to give them time to go and reconcile among themselves. You know? because I think maybe the deputy has not yet been updated on what the Attorney General is having, or I don't know. So
I have said clearly, in as far as the enforcement of the Supreme Court order is concerned, the organs that are supposed to enforce it have not copied to us the steps being taken. What the Attorney General presented yesterday.
Order, point of order.
You see, Mr. Speaker, I now can understand why the Honorable Kafuzi left this to join NRM. You are the one who went to court. You are the Attorney General. And the court gave you instructions. Now you are saying they haven't copied it to you. Where were you? You went to court, took a matter, the Supreme Court made a ruling. Is the Honorable Kafuzi in order to pretend that he must be activated by people who didn't go to court, yet it is the Attorney General's chambers that went to court? Is he in order?
I think these are quarrels between OBs, because you can see even how they started. I understand why you left us, you went here, you know, these are quarrels between OBs, which can be solved in court. But, honorable colleagues, tomorrow we expect to have a Minister for Justice here, and he's the one who oversees the justice, law and justice sector. I will require him to update us, to give us an update in terms of implementation. The one who oversees the whole sector of land justice. It is, let's handle it that way. Next item. No matters of national importance, push to tomorrow. Because the time I had has been, is gone. We shall handle them tomorrow in Prime Minister's time. Next item.
Item number 3 on the order paper, laying of papers. Proposal for Government 2A, borrow up to $96 100 million from the Arab Bank for economic development in Africa. Private window, US dollars 50 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Padea public window, and US dollars 25 million from the OPEC Fund for International Development to capitalize Uganda Development Bank Limited and guarantee Uganda Development Bank Limited to directly borrow up to US dollars 40 million from the Islamic Development Bank, US dollars 30 million from the Islamic Cooperation for the Development of the Private Sector, and US dollars 30 million from the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation.
Honourable Minister for Finance.
Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I beg to lay on table a proposal to borrow up to US dollars 100 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea, private window, US dollars 50 million from the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, Badea, public window, and US dollars 25 million from the OPEC Fund for International Development to capitalize Uganda Development Bank, and also guarantee Uganda Development Bank Limited to directly borrow up to US dollars 40 million from the Islamic Development IDB, from the Islamic Development Bank IDB, US dollars 30 million from the Islamic Cooperation for Development of the Private Sector, and US dollars 30 million from the International Islamic Trade Finance Corporation. I beg to lay right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Proposals referred to the Committee on National Economy to handle in consultation with the relevant sector committees. Next item.
Item number 4 on the order paper. Motion for a resolution of Parliament authorize government to allocate budgets for the financial year 2024/2025 and revise work plans for institutions affected under the rationalization of government agencies and public expenditures RAPEX reform.
Honourable Minister for Finance.
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to move a motion for reallocation of budget estimates for financial year 2024-25 and revised work plans for institutions affected under rationalization of government agencies and public expenditure reform, RAPEX. I beg to move, Right Honourable Speaker.
The motion seconded. Honourable Government Chief Whip, Honourable Mara, Honourable Bahati, Right Honourable Nakadem, Honourable Martin, Honourable Tungo, Honourable Angura, Honourable Bigaros, Honourable Sludge, and many members in the House. Short Ibrahim and many members. Honourable Minister, would you like to speak to your motion in brief?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the motion is moved in accordance with Section 19 of the Public Finance Management Act, which states that Parliament may, by resolution, authorize the Minister to allocate funds from a vote to another vote where the functions of the vote are transferred to that other vote. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to this provision, government on 22nd of February 2021, under Cabinet Minute number CT 43 of 2021 adopted the policy to rationalize government agencies and public expenditures. And subsequently, Parliament in July passed various bills to rationalize agencies under Batch 1. Mr. Speaker, the bills which were passed are the National Records and Archives Amendment Act, which transferred this entity to Ministry of Public Service. Another bill was Arbitration and Conciliation Act, which abolished the Center of Arbitration, and this was moved to Ministry of Justice. Under Internal Affairs, there was a bill of non-government organizations, and this was mainstreamed within the ministry. There is a bill on agricultural chemicals control, physical planning amendment. Mr. Speaker, there are several of them, and these affected agencies have resulted into the need to move resources from where they were previously appropriated to now the new entities which will receive them together with the functions they have been performing with the staff and everything that they have been doing. Mr. Speaker, I laid the proposal on 19th of December 2024, and we have been involved with the committee. They have done a good job. I want to seek your indulgence that the committee can be invited to make their report, and then debate ensues. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Procedure, Honourable Mudimi.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I heard the Minister moving the motion under Section 19 of PFMA. I wanted the Minister to clarify, because Section 19 talks of different items. It's Section 20. You moved under 19 of PFMA.
So we can have the record clear showing 20.
Mr. Speaker, yeah. I've been with the Honorable Mudimi in the process of enactment of the PFMA, and we have also practiced it together for a long time. Right Honorable Speaker and the House, recently there was a realignment. Section 20 became Section 19. This is Cap 171 of the PFMA.
So why did you leave Mudimi behind, and yet you claim to be together all the time? Now, Honourable colleagues, so I've been in touch with the leadership of the Budget Committee. I had proposed earlier that all motions be handled together so that we do one report and we finish. But the committee was not able to finish Part B, Part 2. That is the second motion. And yet, we must supply, because we can't just approve a motion, adopt a motion without supplying. If we don't supply, then again they wouldn't be able to access the money. So I have advised that today we handle Part A, which we received. We handle the salient issues within the motion and all that. Then tomorrow the committee said they would be ready with Part B, together with the minister coming with the motion for supply and the schedule, so that we complete the whole process tomorrow. But when today we've handled this first motion which we received and the salient issues. Okay? Shadow Finance Minister, I want us always to be in one line together. I'm seeing you're doubting what I propose. Is that okay? But he needs food in prison. So if we don't supply.
Mr. Speaker, I take your words as a ruling.
No. That's my proposal. That's why I called you, to see if we could do it better that way.
We have issues for which I have authored the minority report. They relate to your guidance, how we are going about and over this matter. I don't know, Mr. Speaker, whether you will want us to discuss them now or they can be discussed when we've presented the report.
No, what I was saying now we receive a report for the first motion. Okay? We debate it. You know, they brought two motions. But I had guided earlier on that the two motions can be handled. They come in one report. We make one schedule. We make one supply. So that we don't go to supply each motion differently. And then we have different schedules for supply. So that's why I had been of the view that we put it together. But now they are ready. The committee has not yet finalized on the second motion. So yet the first motion is ready. So I'm saying we receive the motion for the first batch of RAPEX affected entities. We debate it. We finish. Then tomorrow they bring the one to do with the UNRWA, Road Fund and Agriculture, which was in the second motion. Together comes with the motion for, after we go for a motion for supply, they table the schedule and we do the motion for supply. And we have it sorted. So minority report, I don't know whether it's on this part A. If it's on part A, then it is part of the report. We will allow it and we discuss it there. Okay, thank you. Yes, Honorable Dur.
Right Honorable Speaker, I am concerned about the procedure that we are likely to indulge in. There are only two circumstances where this House sits to supply. Either when we are doing a budget, the main budget, or a supplementary budget. This particular motion is to authorize reallocation of the money we had already supplied. The figures are known. Because of the decision we took here, it must move from one vote to the other. It's just to allow the movement of funds from one vote to be expended under a different vote. When we import the word supply, we may be falling into some, for lack of better wording, something that recently happened with the transfer of funds from Minister of Finance to Bank of Uganda and money went to Japan. We should not allow this House to be used to oversupply on an item where we have already supplied money. We should restrict ourselves. The law allows for us to authorize. We should restrict ourselves to approving that transfer. And the figures are given to us, we allow that transfer because we are the ones who made the RAFEX bills. If there is anything to do with need for more money, it should also come separately as a supplementary, and we scrutinize the budget and deal with that. To deal with the two motions together, I feel we may not proceed well, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Dur, that was also at first, okay? That was my assessment and my judgment, looking at section 19 of the PFMA. Now, but the Minister for Finance came to me and said, look, if you just adopt the report without supplying this money, I will not be able to release this money. So now let me ask the Minister, okay? But this is an issue which we are going to handle tomorrow. We are not handling anything to do with supply today, but Honourable Minister, maybe if you needed to justify. And I wanted us to complete the cycle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first issue to deal with, move money from the vote which we have closed and transfer the money to the active vote. Mr. Speaker, when the money is transferred to an active vote, it has got to be accessed for spending. The receiving vote will have an additional resources to a vote. Mr. Speaker, the process of making funds available for spending, the process of transferring money from one vote to another, in order to make the funds available for spending, is through supply. This supply, by implication, is adding. When you are adding, you do what we call supplementary appropriation, so that the receiving vote receives additional money. Mr. Speaker, if you take it, if you use the accounting language, the double entry principle, you are getting money from somewhere and taking it somewhere in order to be available for spending. To do that, I want to invite Honorable Odur to think through it. What do we do in order to make funds available for spending? We supply, we appropriate.
Now, Honorable
and that is exactly what we are doing.
Let's be
Other than that, we will not be able to spend.
Honorable colleagues, just I've told you in advance, okay? We are sorting it tomorrow, so let's sleep over it, okay? Then tomorrow we will sort it here. Otherwise, even me, the easier way was to adopt, and we adopt the motion, and the minister, we've done the reallocation as required under Section 19. But when he took me through the technicalities, and he said I wouldn't be able to spend this money, yes, I must come back here and I bring it, colleagues, that we don't give air. We don't give money on the surface without enabling the minister to release it. So let's handle this tomorrow. Chair, Committee on Budget, please present the report for the first motion.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, before I present the report, allow me to lay on table a copy of the report of the Committee on Budget on reallocation of budget estimates for financial year.
Procedure.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, our Hansard is official record. The fact that the chairperson of the budget is here is just proper that the chairperson introduces and allows our colleague to present the report. Because as of now, Honourable Speaker, you have called the chair, and on our Hansard and record, the chair is Honourable Siagi, who is present in the House. So he needs to complete the cycle, introduce the colleague to present the report on his behalf.
Honourable Siagi, do the necessary. Don't run away from duty.
Yes, we are building capacity. Thank you, Right Honourable. Colleagues, aware that this motion was delegated to the Budget Committee to process, I would like here to lay for you the minutes of the meetings. And I lay you a copy of the report. Now, in the spirit of building capacity, we have a member of the committee who is going to present the report to the House. Honorable.
Can we have her name on record?
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm Catherine Ndamira Atuachire, Woman MP Kabale District, representing the Chair of Budget Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right Honourable Speaker, the report I'm going to present to you and members is the reallocation of budget estimates for financial year 24-25 and revision of work plans for institutions affected under the rationalization of government agencies and public expenditures, which we called RAPEX. Right Honourable Speaker, our introduction is that pursuant to Section 19 of the PFMA 2015, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development moved a motion on the 19th December 2024 for a resolution of Parliament to authorize the reallocation of funds and the revision of work plans for institutions affected by the rationalization of government agencies and public expenditures. The Speaker referred the agencies and public expenditures. The Speaker refers the budget to scrutinize of the proposed reallocations to the Committee on Budget. I therefore beg to present a report of the Committee on Budget on the allocation of funds for the financial year 2024-25 and revised work plans for institutions affected by the rationalization of government agencies and public expenditures. The report is structured as follows. We have methodology and legal framework. We have background to RAPEX, committee observations and recommendations, and then conclusions. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee made references to the following documents and held consultations with the following stakeholders as listed below. Right Honourable Speaker, the stakeholders consulted were the Minister of State for Planning and Economic Development general duties, and then heads of institutions affected by the proposed reallocations. Right Honourable Speaker, the legal framework that governs the reallocation of funds is provided under Section 19 of the PFMA 2015 as amended. Section 19 states that Parliament may by resolution authorize the Minister to reallocate funds from a vote to another vote where the functions of a vote are transferred to that other vote. Right Honourable Speaker, on 22nd February 2021, Government under Cabinet Minute number 43, 2021, adopted the policy to rationalize government agencies and public expenditure with the aim of merging, mainstreaming, and rationalization of agencies, commissions, authorities, and public expenditures, thereby entirely relieving the government of the financial drain on its resources and the burden of wasteful administration and expenditure. B, providing efficient and effective service delivery by clearly delineating the mandates and functions of government agencies and departments, and thereby avoiding duplication of mandates and functions. Promoting coordinated administrative arrangements, policies, and procedures for ensuring the efficient and successful management, financial accounting, and budgetary discipline of government agencies and departments, enabling the government to play its proper role more effectively and enforcing accountability. The restructuring and reorganization of agencies and departments of government by eliminating bloated structures and functional ambiguities. This decision followed the 2018 report by the Ministry of Public Service that detailed findings and recommendations of the review of government agencies and authorities. The primary goals of rationalization of government agencies was to establish their operational relevancy, determine their current operational costs, eliminate embedded duplications and overlaps, identify wasteful expenditures, and establish the resultant short-term and long-term savings, which would be optimally utilized for sustainable socio-economic and political development of the country. Right Honorable Speaker, government has over time realized a proliferation of agencies established through acts of parliament, executive orders, and administrative arrangements. This proliferation of agencies has led to overlaps in mandates and uncertainties regarding jurisdiction. The high administrative costs associated with these agencies have strained the national treasury, compromising effective service delivery and stretching the government's capacity to sustain them. Additionally, the generous salary structures within these agencies have created disparities between their employees and those in the traditional civil service, resulting in demotivation among public servants. Right Honourable Speaker, the RAPEX bills were laid before the House. Parliament considered them and made the decision as summarized in Table 1 below. Right Honourable Speaker, as you
Honourable, can you go to
see,
page 14 on observations and recommendations?
Thank you, Right Honourable
The rest we
Speaker.
shall read through.
Right Honourable Speaker, the committee made observations and recommendations as follows. The transfer of funds for the civil registration services. The committee observed that in the financial year 2024-2025, a total of Ugandan shillings 1.036 billion, of which wage 323 million, non-wage of 713 million, was approved annual budget for the Civil Registration Services Department under Vote 119, Uganda Registration Services Bureau. The Civil Registration Services Department and its functions were transferred to Vote 137, National Identification Registration Authority, as per the Registration of Persons Amendment Act 2024. However, a total of Ugandan shillings 1.4 billion, of which wage 760 million, non-wage of 713 million, has been proposed to be transferred to NIRA, which is 436 million above the Uganda shillings 1.036 billion approved budget. This is due to the higher salary scale of NIRA compared to URSB. The committee was informed that whereas the available wage transfers to NIRA from URSB amounts to 326.6 million, NIRA requires 760.5 million to cater for all the staff transferred. This has resulted into a shortfall of 436.87 million due to higher salary scale of NIRA. The committee was also informed that no budget releases have been made towards the Civil Registration Services Department in the financial year 2024-25. The committee recommends a total of Ugandan shillings of 1.036 billion, of which wage is 323 million, non-wage of 713 million is transferred to Vote 137, National Identification Registration Authority. 3.2, transfer of the funds for the Uganda National Meteorological Authority. The committee observed that in the financial year 2024-2025, a total of 14.6 billion, of which wage 9.013 billion, non-wage of 3.1 billion, then development of 263 million, gratuity of 2.2 billion was approved annual budget for vote 109, Uganda National Meteorological Authority. However, Uganda National Meteorological Authority and its functions were transferred to vote 019, Ministry of Water and Environment, as per the Uganda National Meteorological Authority Amendment Act 2024. In addition, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee was informed that arising from the National of UNIMA, government has saved 7.4 billion. This would imply that the total proposed net funds to be transferred is 7.1 billion. The committee was also informed that no budget releases have been made to UNIMA in the financial year of 2024-2025. The committee recommends that a total of Ugandan shillings 7.1 billion, of which wage 5.4, non-wage of 1.6 billion is transferred to vote 019, Ministry of Water and Environment. Right Honourable Speaker, transfer of funds for the National Population Council and National Physical Planning Board. The committee observed that in the financial year 2024-2025, a total of Ugandan shillings 7.5 billion, of which wage 3.2 billion, non-wage of 3.5 billion, development of 104 billion, gratuity of 622 million was the approved annual budget for vote 149, National Population Council. However, National Population Council and its functions were transferred to vote 108, National Planning Authority, as per the National Population Council Repeal Act 2024. The committee was informed that arising from the rationalization of NPC, government has saved 2.1 billion, of which 807 million from wage, 1.3 billion from non-wage. In addition, the committee observed that a total of 900 million was approved by Parliament for the National Physical Planning Board under vote 012, Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. However, the NPPB and its functions were transferred to vote 108, National Planning Authority, as per the Physical Planning Amendment Act 2024. The committee was also informed that no budget releases have been made to NPC and NPPB in the financial year 2024-2025. In this regard, the committee recommends 1. A total of 5.4 billion, of which wage and 2.4 billion non-wage, 2.2 billion development, 104 million, gratuity of 622 million be transferred to vote 108, National Planning Authority. 2. A total of Ugandan shillings 900 million as non-wage recurrent be transferred to vote 108, National Planning Authority. Right Honourable Speaker, 3.4 is transfer of funds for the Uganda Wildlife Education Center. The committee observed that in the financial year 2024-25, a total of Ugandan shillings 14.8 billion as non-wage recurrent was approved for the Uganda Wildlife Education Center under vote 022, Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. However, UWEC and its functions were transferred to the Uganda Wildlife Authority under the same vote of 022, Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities as per the Uganda Wildlife Amendment Act 2024. The committee was informed that arising from the rationalization of UWEC, government has saved 3.1 billion. In addition, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee was informed that Ugandan shillings of 7.4 billion has already been released to UWEC during the first half of financial year 2024-25, This would imply that the proposed net funds to be transferred is 4.2 billion. The committee recommends that a total of 4.2 billion as non-wage recurrent is transferred to the Uganda Wildlife Authority under vote 022, Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. 3.5, Right Honourable Speaker, the transfer of funds for various subventions under the Ministry of Gender and Social Development. The committee observed that in the financial year 2024-25 was the approved annual budget of the following subventions under vote 018, Ministry of Gender and Social Development. The National Children Authority, 80 million. National Youth Council, 800 million. National Women's Council, 1.1 billion. National Council for Disability, 250 million. And the National Council for Older Persons, 500 million. However, the budgets of these subventions and functions were transferred within the same vote 018, Minister of Gender and Social Development as per the Children Amendment Act 2024. The National Youth Council Amendment Act 2024, the National Women's Council Amendment Act 2024, the Persons with Disabilities Amendment Act 2024, and the National Council for Older Persons Amendment Act 2024. The committee was informed that as at the first half of the financial year 2024-2025, the following budget releases were already made: the National Children Authority, 80 million, National Youth Council, 511 million, National Women's Council, 748 million, National Council for Disability, 164 million, and National Council for Older Persons, 284 million. This would imply that the total proposed net funds to be transferred is 963 million, as no savings were made. The committee recommends that a total of 963 million as non-wage recurrent is transferred to the National Secretariat for Interest Groups under vote 108, Ministry of Gender and Social Development. The transfer of funds for the Uganda Warehouse Receipt System Authority. The committee observed that in the financial year 2024-25, Parliament approved the budget of 3.1 billion for the Uganda Warehouse Receipt System Authority as non-wage recurrent under vote 015, Ministry of Trade and Industry and Cooperatives. However, UWRSA and its functions were transferred within the same vote 015, Ministry of Trade and Industry and Cooperatives as per the Warehouse Receipt System Amendment Act 2024 to the Department of Warehouse and Receipt Management in the Ministry. In addition, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee was informed that shilling 1.067 billion has already been released during the first half of financial year 2024-2025 to URSA. This would imply that the net funds proposed to be transferred is 2.075 billion as no savings were made. The committee recommends that a total of 2.075, of which wage is 221 million and non-wage is 1.8 billion, is transferred to the Department of Warehouse and Receipt Management under vote 015, Ministry of Trade and Industry and Cooperatives. Right Honourable Speaker, transfer of funds for the Bureau for Non-Governmental Organizations. The committee observed that in the financial year 2024-25, Parliament approved the budget of Ugandan shillings 1.9 billion for the Bureau for Non-Governmental Organizations as non-wage recurrent under vote 009, Ministry of Internal Affairs. However, the Bureau for Non-Governmental Organizations and its functions were transferred within the same vote of 009, Ministry of Internal Affairs, as per the Non-Governmental Organizations Amendment Act 2024 to the to the Department of Non-Governmental Organizations Management in the Ministry. In addition, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee was informed that 1.8 billion has already been released during the first half of financial year 2024-25. This would imply that the net funds proposed to be transferred is 145 million, as no savings were made. The committee recommends that a total of 145 million as wage is transferred to the Department of Non-Governmental Organizations Management under Vote 009, Ministry of Internal Affairs. Right Honourable Speaker, the revised work plans, procurement plans, recruitment plans, cash flow projections, and assets registers. The committee observed that motion for reallocation of funds was accompanied by revised work plans of the affected agencies. However, no revised annual procurement plans, revised annual recruitment plans, revised cash flow projections, and revised assets register for both the receiving institutions and transferring institutions were presented to Parliament as part of the motion. Right Honourable Speaker, without this information, effective implementation of the budget for the affected institutions may be constrained, since the Secretary to Treasury and Accountant General can only release funds based on the annual cash flow plan of government, which is based on procurement plans, work plans, recruitment plans approved by Parliament as per Section 15 of PFM Act 2025. The committee recommends that the subsequent reallocation proposals made to Parliament must be accompanied with revised work plans, annual and quarterly, revised annual procurement plans, revised recruitment plans, revised vote cash flow projections, and the revised asset register. In conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker, in accordance with Section 19 of the PFM Act 2015, the committee recommends that Parliament authorizes the Minister to reallocate funds as indicated in the committee recommendations and summarized in Annex 1 and Annex 2. In addition, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee recommends that Parliament approves the revised work plans of the transferred functions as attached. I beg to submit and report, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Well done. Well done, Honourable Ndamira. Thank you, honourable colleagues and the public gathered this afternoon. We have a delegation of district leaders from Kabango Town Council, Masin District. They are represented by Honourable Kiza Kenneth Nyendoha and Honourable Simwe Florence Akiki, our Queen Dancer. They've come to observe proceedings of this House. Please join me once again in welcoming them. Thank you. Yes. Honourable, have I gotten something wrong? No, under rules we don't have a provision for you to say anything. Here unfortunately. But your people, I must tell them that you're very good legislators and you always speak here. Yeah. So, honourable colleagues, Chair, there's something you should have done because I understand there is a minority report. So since you are delegated, but Chair, please, can you do the necessary? Let's save time, okay? I understand there is a minority report.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, we are all aware of the rules of procedure of this House. We are all aware that a minority report forms part of the report. However, up to this point, we have not received any notice of a minority report, neither have we received any copy. As such, there's therefore no minority report for this.
Thank you. Now, my office and the office of the clerk received a copy of the minority report. So if the notes is still on the way, let me call Honorable Semuju to present the minority report. Yeah. Because these are issues we should avoid here on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the report and the notes was given to the Vice Chair yesterday, who was chairing meetings. I didn't want to go into the internal workings of the committee, but the Chair was not there when these things were happening. So his vice, who was chairing the committee, received both the notes but also received the report. Mr. Speaker, this is the report. Why are you saying Background. The government has set out to implement the rationalization of agencies and public expenditure policy in the most uncoordinated, disorganized, and archaic manner. 7 months into the 2024-25 financial year, several previously provided services by closed agencies remain unassigned. Some of these agencies used to collect fees, non-tax revenue, for the government. Closing them is a double loss for the country. Not only are essential services no longer being provided, the government is also losing out on crucial revenue. The agencies were summarily closed before ministries and bodies supposed to take over their functions were ready to do so. In some cases, Ministry of Public Service, the main sponsor of rationalization, is yet to approve new staff structures. Some of the staff for the closed agencies stopped receiving salaries in December. Their fate remains unknown and may struggle taking their children to school this term. This human-induced suffering, similar to the Kitezi landfill catastrophe of last year, is playing out in many agencies. The money, budgets, EU Parliament appropriated for agencies in May 2024 for service delivery remain unutilized because of the break in service provision occasioned by this unplanned transition. Everybody knows that the NRM is allergic to orderly and peaceful transfer of power. What maybe we didn't know is that this organization is the way they work. This is because all decisions are made by one man and offloaded on two others for implementation. Sometimes the implementers don't know what he wants and they cannot easily access him for clarification. This motion by 40-year-old Honorable Henry Musasi Zariganyira, born February 25, 1981, about a month into Mr. Museveni's Luwero War, is another evidence of what we are talking about, as you will see later. Areas of dissent. I like cheering. When you are cheering and I am reading, I like it. Areas of dissent. Non-compliance with the law, piecemeal implementation, disorganized transition, misinformation, misleading to Parliament. Non-compliance with the law. The motion by Honorable Musasi, tabled in Parliament on December 19, 2024, is asking you to casually move huge sums of taxpayers' money across entities in total disregard of Article 156 of the Constitution and Public Finance Management Act. Section 15 of the Public Finance Management Act states, after approval of the annual budget by Parliament, the Secretary to Treasury shall issue the annual cash flow plan of government based on the procurement plans, work plans, and recruitment plans approved by Parliament. I have underlined the word approved by Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, the motion presented by Finance Minister referred only to revised work plans. It ignored the recruitment and procurement plans. But even what was attached to the motion as work plans are just some lousy statements that do not constitute a work plan even to a high school student. The Minister must, as a matter of law, table procurement plans, recruitment plans, and credible work plans that are costed. That should again be sent to our sectoral committees for scrutiny. Scrutinizing these plans is a function of sectoral committees and not a standing committee on the budget. This motion can only stand if it is amended to include tabling of a supplementary budget that will be sent to the sectoral committees for scrutiny before it is finally processed by the budget committee. And this must be done under Section 25 of the Public Finance Management Act on supplementary budgets. This is not a mere reallocation under Section 19 of the Public Finance Management Act. The only reallocation in the motion from one existing vote to another vote relates to Uganda National Registration Services Bureau, which is ceding registration of marriages to National Identification Registration Authority, NIRA. Here, only one function is moving from one entity to another. What does the Constitution say? The Constitution in Article 156 provides a solution. It allows ministries and agencies that have taken over other functions and they don't have money to perform them to request for a supplementary budget. It states, if in respect of any financial year it is found, A, that the amount appropriated for any purpose under the Appropriation Act is insufficient, and mark the word insufficient, or that a need has arisen for expenditure for purpose for which no amount has been appropriated by that act, or B, that any monies have been expended for any purpose in excess of the amount appropriated for that purpose, or for a purpose for which no amount has been appropriated by that act. A supplementary estimate showing the sums required or spent shall be laid down before Parliament, and in the case of excess expenditure within 4 months after the money is spent. The Minister knows the rest of the process you go through that follows a supplementary budget, including a supplementary appropriation bill that eventually should amend the Appropriation Act. Our contention is that what the Minister of Finance wants Parliament to do is a budget revision and not a reallocation. The budget is revised through a supplementary process under Section 25 of the Public Finance Management Act, and not through a motion for reallocation under Section 19. Peaceful implementation. The motion by the Minister requests transfer of budgets in respect of 13 agencies, yet Parliament approved the rationalization of more than 20, and they all commenced around the same time in August. In fact, the Budget Committee processed the request for 13 agencies, and the report was duly signed by members. This report, the Vice Chair, who I referred to earlier, said was to be presented on Tuesday, February 4th. On the morning of Wednesday, February 5th, the Vice Chair, the Chair, without following our rules on meetings, called another meeting to also process UNRWA and Road Fund and others. Parliament cannot work that way. If the executive is disorganized, don't apply to join them. And this is how they even process the annual budget. You remember how addendums were being trafficked into the plenary midway the appropriation. This is what they are doing. This morning, as we are finishing signing this, they are bringing another motion that UNRWA is here and others. What does the motion say? Uganda Registration Services Bureau. You will excuse me, I may repeat some of the information, but it's important. The motion seeks to transfer 1 billion from Registration Services Bureau to National Identification Registration Authority. This is to cater for civil registration such as marriages, which is being transferred to NIRA. This transfer reduces the budget of Registration Services Bureau from 43.8 to 42.8 billion. The bill to effect this change was assented to on July 15, 2024. It increased the budget of NIRA from 100.3 billion to 101.3 billion. Please note that the amount proposed for transfer in the original motion are different from what the minister presented as additional information to the budget committee. In the motion, the minister proposed transfer of 1.7 billion for the services to NIRA. Yet some of the money had already been spent. And you need to look at both schedules, the one that came with the motion and the one he brought before the committee. National Population Council was abolished and function transferred to National Planning Authority. The bill abolishing it, which was repealed, was assented to on July 15, 2024. It had an approved recurrent budget of 6.8 billion. Finance released 2.1 billion to the agency. What remains is 4.6, which this motion seeks to transfer. For development, the Population Council was allocated 104.1 million for a whole year. With 4 months remaining, the minister wants all of it transferred, what remains to NPA. The minister requires additional funds to cater for their enhanced salary. Please take note that the former staff of the Population Council have had their salaries enhanced because the entity they have joined pays higher salaries. So more money here is required, but they are talking about a saving. National Physical Planning Board abolished and function transferred to National Planning Authority. The bill abolishing it was assented to on July 15th. The 900 million meant to run the Physical Planning Board was part of the 111.5 billion Ministry of Lands budget, which as a result of this transfer reduces to 110.6 billion. When you transfer the budget of Population Council and the Physical Planning Board to NPA, you are increasing the budget of NPA from 62.8 billion to 70.3 billion. Uganda National Meteorological Authority was abolished and function transferred to Ministry of Water. The bill abolishing it was assented to on June 14, 2024. The total budget for this entity was 14.3 billion recurrent and 263.3 million development. 3 billion was released before the eventual closure. The 11 billion point 3 was not released, from which the finance now wants to transfer part of it, 6.9, to Ministry of Water. This will eventually increase the budget of Ministry of Water from 25.6 billion to 32.5 billion. Uganda Wildlife Education Center was merged with Uganda Wildlife Authority. The bill merging them was assented to on July 15th. The total budget for the wildlife education was 14.8 billion, shilling 7.43 billion was released before the merger, leaving a balance of 7.43 billion. The minister wants 4.2 billion transferred, leaving a balance of 3.15 billion. The point for you to note is that not all the budgets are being moved. Some of the money remains in air. This will increase the budget.
Procedure, point of procedure.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I am raising for your procedural guidance. The Honorable Semuju is moving under Rule 205 of a minority report. And in sub-rule 1, it says a member or members dissenting from the opinion of a majority of a committee may state in writing the reasons for his or her or their dissent, and the statements of reasons shall be appended to the report of the committee. My understanding is that what is envisaged is that a member reads the majority report and disagrees with some of the recommendations being made, and then you give reasons. So may I seek your guidance on whether minority reports should now be voluminous reports, meandering all over, criticizing the motion by the minister, the way the Honorable Semuju is saying. So my guidance I'm seeking, or what I'm requesting is for you to guide the House, including Honorable Semuju, for members to stick to what the rule requires, not take us into a fish expedition of very many things which are not in the rules.
What I'm understanding, Honorable Badiomus, to mean here is that you've given a reason for dissent and then too much justification, isn't it? Because I'm saying he's capturing the issues which he believes the committee has said are okay, and for him he believes they are not okay. Or the committee has ignored, and for him he's now bringing them out in another way. Yeah, that same Jews style, you know, and the problem with the reports, yeah. So let's do it quickly. We finish. I hope you're not now going on about Yomuns also.
No,
because I can see how you're looking at him.
Mr. Speaker, I have no intention, because he's my friend. When he was arrested, I even visited him. I really have no intention.
He claimed to have brought you slippers, Honorable Yomuns. So the problem was the size.
Point of order. Right Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Semuju, in order to keep repeating, visiting me, when he actually came empty-handed without any food.
Honorable colleagues, let's move on. I think his quarrel is, Honorable Yomunsi, his quarrel is you never reciprocated the visit when he had problems. So next time you settle that, and we know you're one-on-one, okay? So Honorable Semuju, please conclude.
Mr. Speaker, just to comfort my friend Bariomo, some of the information I am giving is important for Parliament. Government said they are going to save money by rationalization. I am now reading Uganda Wildlife Education Center, where as a result of the merger, the salaries of people who are working in UWEC, 38 of them, have gone up immediately because they have joined an entity that is paying a higher salary. In fact, in the committee, they are saying there will be a saving of 3 billion. When the ministry and these entities appeared before the committee, they said the only saving was on the board, which is 200 million shilling, but they will require more money to enhance salaries. I thought this information was important if you are not just biased about a report. Because each time I present a report, you must stand here to read the rule as if I am being introduced to this rule for the first time. Mr. Speaker, I was on number 5, the Wildlife Education Center. I don't have to repeat everything, but the point is, here the reported saving of 3 billion actually is a pure lie, because you need more money, and that's why you must be very careful with this motion. For some entities, it is adding money. But there are also new entities, Mr. Speaker, as you said, tomorrow when it comes here. New entities with new votes. You have merged the Free Zones Authority with Export Promotion Board to form a new entity that is new, that will require a new vote. You just can't move money like that. Because this Section 19 relates to existing votes and moving of functions. I'll go to National Children Authority. I can cover these ones together so that the Minister for Information and National Guidance is not bored. National Children Authority, number 7, National Youth Council, number 8, National Women's Council, number 9, National Council for Disability, number 10, National Council for Older Persons. I'll just make a statement without reading the report. Here, the motion was that they are transferring them to Ministry of Gender. What instead has happened is the creation of a joint secretariat that actually requires more money. But the original budgets for each of these entities has remained. In fact, the Ministry of Gender, when it appeared before the budget committee, they had problems that they were being asked to implement something unimplementable. Because they said, you just streamline all these councils into the ministry. They said you cannot. So this information is important for Parliament to note, that actually what we are asked to do is eventually not what has happened. I'll skip 11 because 11 relates to the creation of a secretariat for all these councils. Uganda, number 12, Uganda Warehouse Receipt System Authority abolished and services transferred to Ministry of Trade and Industry and Cooperative under the Department of Warehouse and Receipt Management. The bill was assigned to on July 15th. The approved budget for this entity was 3.1 billion. Released so far 817 million, and a balance of 2.3 remain. Interestingly here, the minister says no request to transfer is being made, but a saving. So here the information is confused. You will need to go back to the 2 documents of the minister. On this point, finally, NGO Bureau was mainstreamed into Ministry of Internal Affairs under the Department of NGO Management, and it was named Department of Non-Government Organizations Management. The budget for the NGO Bureau was 1.9 billion. 1.6 billion was released, leaving a balance of 360 million. No money here is being transferred. At least the attachment the minister brought remained vacant, but he included it. What is the status of other rationalized agencies? This part I did it before the Honorable Musasi's trafficked another motion, which is now under consideration. But the point here, you are being asked to reallocate money for 13 agencies, 12 above. What about the following that were also rationalized? That's the question I was asking before this motion was brought. And I have listed them. Accepting to process the 13 today, you will be asked to process others in a piecemeal manner. This Parliament must set some standards. Minister of Finance cannot turn it into their department. One single supplementary request should be tabled to facilitate this unprecedented budget revision. Please don't allow the minister to make this matter look simple, because it is not. And must be careful when you are processing it. Otherwise, we will be, Mr. Speaker, I have done with the report. We will be making the same mistake that they are making. The committee cannot capture everything that has happened when we are meeting these entities. They are all suffering. As I said, there are entities that are supposed to be correcting money, they can't correct because they emerged them public services yet to approve the new structure. Yet they brought a budget here to say it will be financed by money including NTR. So this total chaos by the implementers of rationalization should not be tolerated by Parliament, because they will come here persuading you that there is a crisis. And I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker. That marks the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Honourable Minister, do you want to make some clarifications before I open debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Majority Committee for the good report. And also, I want to thank Honorable Semuju for his in-depth analysis about the motion I moved. Mr. Speaker, I think for the record, I do this work on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, where I am currently assigned as a Minister of State for General Duties. Therefore, I would very much be happy if you addressed me by my title, not by my name. And the age and date of birth and the other things. That is, I feel that is going much into my personal profile. I don't take offense, but I beg my colleague to improve his reporting approach to Mr. Speaker. Honorable Semuju, I think he agrees with my argument, which I made earlier, that if we are to move these monies from where they have been to where they want to be, where we want the monies to be, we must do supplementary appropriation. There I agree. And that is the requirement of the Constitution, Article 156 and Section 25 of the PFMA. That one I agree with you. Mr. Speaker, point 2, he mentions about the changes in numbers.
Procedure.
Mr. Speaker, a procedural issue has been raised here, and the Minister has agreed with it that what we are doing is not fit for purpose. The motion before us that this House is supposed to consider requires us to reallocate. And yet, what should have been done is to have a supplementary budget brought here, and it is processed in the way Semuju guided. We have established beyond reasonable doubt that the figures this motion seeks to reallocate vary from what we approved in the budget. We have established beyond reasonable doubt that the actors in the procurement plan, in the work plan, in the recruitment plans are going to be different. Would it be procedural right that, after we have identified an illegality, that this minister withdraws this motion and retables a supplementary budget? Otherwise, if we don't move that way, this parliament is going to enjoin in backing up thieves, and we will be selling this country. And this corruption is...
Thank you. Now, Honourable Minister, I need a clarification. So, under what rule are we moving? Because the motion is under Section 19. But now, supplementary, which you have said that that's how we should move, is under Section 25. So how do we reconcile the two to ensure that indeed we are moving in the right direction?
Mr. Speaker, we are moving systematically in stages. Stage 1 is reallocate the money. This one is under Section 19 of the PFMA. After you have approved the motion, in order for us to access money for spending, we shall have to do supplementary appropriation. And this will be moved under Section 25 of the Public Finance Management Act.
Honorable Dur.
Mr. Speaker, sir, there are 2 points of law that have been raised. The first one is that the minister presented 2 different motions. One motion was officially laid here and you referred, but he had a second motion which he did not come here and he supplied to the committee.
No. Let me clarify that. No. Let me clarify that. Yes, on Wednesday, the Honorable Rugorobi Amos moved a motion for the second batch. He called it second batch. And I referred it to the committee, and I told them to consolidate it. And I communicated it at the beginning, so there was nothing smuggled to the committee or anywhere. The minister brought it here in broad daylight, and I referred it to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's where my issues now arise. In fact, under Section 19, the minister is entitled to come to Parliament to authorize him to transfer money from one vote to the other. There are 2 operational words under Section 19. Parliament may, by resolution, authorize the minister to reallocate funds from a vote to another. When you interrogate the word reallocate, it means there must be something in existence. For you to be reallocated from Kampala to Lira, it means you have been resident in Kampala. You cannot reallocate a non-existent amount of money. So what the minister should be telling us is that this amount of money exists under vote 119, which is URSB, I think, and we are moving the same amount of money to vote 137, which is NIRA. This is not coming clearly. And the reason is because the people at the Ministry of Finance, if the minister is in charge, have sought to take advantage of this parliament to do an illegality. The minister is entitled at any one point to come here and request for additional money where they have a shortage. Let me demonstrate to you, Mr. Speaker. The minister seeks the amount of money we appropriated in this parliament under URSB for civil registration function is 326 million. The money we appropriated under Uganda Registration Services Bureau under the function of civil registration for wages is 23.6 million. The minister is now telling us here to transfer 760 million. Where does he get 436 million? It means NIRA has realized that there is a shortfall and we had not foreseen it, or the money is insufficient, which falls under the realm of supplementary budget. So in dealing with this motion, Mr. Speaker, we should confine ourselves to transfer of money already voted. If the minister thereafter finds that there is a shortage in the new mandate, the minister can then come here with a supplementary budget. And we will be glad to support him in that. So on that basis, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to seek the indulgence of the chairperson and members of the budget committee that I feel the budget committee, whom we entrusted responsibility, not that members of parliament who do not sit on that committee cannot do this work. Committees of parliament are delegated to do work in trust, and that work must be done diligently. So for them, the committee to accept, to combine, to smuggle, and to try to hoodwink this parliament, this committee must apologize. This is not the first time the committee of budget.
Colleagues, let's not mislead ourselves. The report was read here verbatim by Honorable Catherine. And on page 14 of the report, 3.1, transfer of funds for Civil Registration Services Bureau. I would like to repeat. The committee recommends a total of 1,036,858,995 shillings, of which wage is 323,628, and the non-wage 713. So when you go back in the middle, it said the committee was informed that whereas available wage transfers to NERA from URSB amounts to 323.6, NERA requires 760. That's what they required. This has resulted into a shortfall of 436. So the committee has not recommended extra money. So there is nothing a committee apologizes for. The committee is talking what you are saying. The committee has clearly said approve only what was budgeted. And if you went to the first paragraph, says the committee observed that in 2024-25, a total of 1,036,858,995 was approved by Parliament, of which 323.628 was wage. And that's the amount the committee is recommending for approval. Now, when you tell the committee smuggled, which figure, go to the report and cite where it is smuggled. I think Honorable Du has not understood what the committee has recommended. And therefore, it doesn't desire an apology here.
Chair, your member gave you information.
Right, Honorable, I think it's a rush of judgment.
Information.
Bias.
Honorable Kanya.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, when we read our rules and when we read our laws, we should be mindful of the foundation. And the foundation is simple. These rules and laws are made out as a result of the practice of the Commonwealth, the common law. And our rules, the Speaker is the custodian of the rules. And the Speaker being the custodian, any matter that has been referred by the House to the committee and a new matter emerges in the due course, the Speaker has the authority to refer that matter through his signature direct to the committee without coming here. And that has been the practice. The Speaker has just been considerate in some occasions to delay referring the matter, to request the minister to come here. But if you have a matter of reallocation resulting from RAPEX, and the Minister of Finance omitted a component of another institution, the practice has been, read the Hansard, that the Speaker can direct that matter to be handled by that committee. Secondly, and therefore there is no matter that the Committee of Budget, using the office of the Speaker, smuggled. Because the practice is all information coming from agencies are handed to the office of the Speaker. And that's the practice. Secondly, the process of RAPEX, Right Honorable Speaker. We have office of the Speaker. Secondly, the office of RAPEX, the process of RAPEX did not start today. When we repealed the acts, we transferred duties and responsibilities of some of these agencies. Read the acts that we repealed and merged. What is now left is the transfer of finances and other components. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to beg the Minister of Finance to complete the process for the new votes to bring the names of the accounting officers so that tomorrow when we conclude this matter, we conclude it complete. Because when approve the resource, and you have not brought the names of the accounting officers to be laid to the office of the Speaker and to be laid here, we shall again have a challenge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, I think I clarified for Honorable Jonathan on the issue of smuggling, and he understood. Because the answer is clear. The minister laid on table, there was nothing that was smuggled. The minister moved the motion, and we received it here. But I wanted to ask Honorable Jonathan Odur to help me, because at first I was also coming from that angle. Section 19, very, very clear. Parliament may by resolution authorize to reallocate funds from a vote to another where the functions of a vote are transferred to that other vote. Okay? Through RAPEX, we transferred the functions of NIRA to Minister of Works. We transferred the functions of UCDA to the vote in the Ministry of Agriculture. So now I thought this was sufficient. Then there came a question that, but this, if you're talking about this transfer, and the minister is supposed to warrant this money, the minister can only warrant money provided for under the Appropriation Act and the schedules to the Appropriation Act. So, meaning this motion is not sufficient to amend the Appropriation Act and the schedules of the Appropriation Act, so the minister must move another motion to amend now the Appropriation Act so that he is able to warrant this money and move it to the entities that are allowed. Okay? So, I wanted to first agree with my brother Jonathan that do you think that that's what should be done so that we have that settled and we amend the Appropriation Act through a supplementary or what, and the schedules, and the minister is not just given air and orders but actual money.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, before I comment, I would like to inform my brother, Honorable Ekanya, that the Speaker is not Parliament of Uganda. Where in the law it is stated that Parliament may do this, the Speaker cannot purport to be Parliament and cannot replace Parliament. So I am informing you on that basis. Now, Mr. Speaker, Section 19 already
the rules allow me to say clarification, because the Honorable Kanya was saying that the Speaker may refer a matter to a committee even without passing through here. Are you saying that the rules do not provide for that?
That is exactly what I have said. Where the law says Parliament has to do this, the Speaker cannot sit in their kitchen. But colleagues, they cannot sit elsewhere to do that. It must be Parliament.
Are you debating? What are you debating?
I'm just responding to.
Because you see why you're wasting my time. The matter was referred on the floor. I never wrote. I never passed anywhere. It was done here. So why are you alluding as if the public outside might think you're some people defending me? I did it from the background. We did it here in Broad.
Thank you. It's quite clear, Mr. Speaker, sir. I was just informing Chris, so that is clear in his mind. But Mr. Speaker, my reading of Section 19 is that it gives Parliament and the Minister a leeway to amend the votes. That's why, because the Appropriation Act, the clauses, if you are using this other law, the sections are actually the votes. So once we authorize here, we have amended those specific votes by varying those figures. There is nothing else to supply because we have already supplied. But if you want to follow what the argument of the minister, when you are doing budget and you are doing supplies here, you must therefore show also where you are getting money from. Okay? But you remember, we already supplied this money already. We already supplied. Are we doing a resupply? Or you'll first bring a motion to desupply. To desupply, and then now we resupply. It doesn't make sense. That's why you are given.
Thank you, Honorable colleague. And to the Honorable Minister and you, Honorable Jonathan. When the entities ceased to be, did the votes that they are holding continue to exist, or they collapse together with the entities. If the votes collapse together with the entities, where did the money go? Shouldn't it have gone to the consolidated fund? These are things. And if it went to the consolidated fund, is it a reallocation? So the clarification I seek to know, Honorable Minister, when the entities collapsed, these votes from where you are reallocating money, did they stay standing or they collapsed together with the entities? I beg to be clarified.
I know the minister will answer, but my understanding is there were entities that continue to exist after the RAFEX. The first example is the transfer of the function from the Uganda Registration Service Bureau. The vote of URSB has remained, but there is a component of a function which has been transferred to NIRA. So both of them exist. I also presuppose that within the first 2-3 months of the financial year, there was an expenditure on the side of the entity. So not all amount of money we appropriated is available for transfer. So it is the minister to come and tell us that out of the 10 billion we had appropriated under Civil Registration Bureau, 3 has been expended and now we are transferring the balance. Then there are also entities that I know has ceased to exist. But also before they ceased to exist, there were some expenditures that they have incurred. But the minister can clarify better because I don't have the figures.
But I think, colleagues, let's have this settled because the minister is comfortable using it. Because, you know, I interrogated it deeply since yesterday. And I tried to call here and there and read through, comb through the Hansard and all that. Because I asked myself, can you amend an act of parliament by a resolution? That's a major question. Because this is under Article 156 of the Constitution. So I'm like, can we amend an act by a resolution, by a mere resolution? So Honorable Katuntu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I have been attentively listening to colleagues submit on this issue. Allocation is under the Public Finance Management Act. Appropriation is under the Appropriation Act. You can never amend an act indirectly. You can only amend it directly. So you must first allocate, then you appropriate. That's why formally Section 20, which is 19, is not talking about appropriation. It's talking about reallocation. After you have done the allocation, then you go to appropriation. I don't know where this debate is coming from. It is, you see, allocation and reallocation do not mean appropriation. They don't. These are different things in finance and so in law. What we are doing now, the motion seeks to reallocate. It does not seek to appropriate. And there is no way money will move from the consolidated fund without appropriation. It is as basic as that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Bigaros, then.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, as we hold this particular item, people's children have not gone to school. From November, the affected entities have not been receiving salary. It is so terrible. If you go to Women Council, the board that should have ceased is busy now operating as staff, as the staff are seated behind. Right Honorable Speaker, as we handle this particular item, we are also aware that we should handle it on quorum. Can we kindly ascertain if we have quorum in this house? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, on the debate, I don't need to ascertain quorum on debate. Quorum can be ascertained at a time of decision making. But on debate, the rules don't require me. Now, Rob wanted to say something.
Honourable Speaker, You see, the beauty about the law is that it is generally clear. Generally. Section 19, formerly 20 of the Public Finance Management Act. Reallocation of funds from a vote. Let me read verbatim. Parliament may, by resolution, authorize the minister to reallocate funds from a vote to another vote where functions of a vote are transferred to that other vote. Honorable Aisha Kabanda raised a critical question. Do these votes still exist? My submission is that they do not. Because we passed the RAPEX bills here. Because when an entity ceases to be and that bill has been assented to, you cannot say that that entity still is. And for that matter, you cannot say that that vote still exists. That money goes back to the consolidated fund. An example, when finance sets a target for URA to say this financial year, you're going to collect 30 trillion shillings, as an example. It's possible by some kind of miracle that URA could collect 40 trillion shillings by some kind of miracle. So there's excess money. You've got to come back here to Parliament and we determine how we make do with that money. Honorable Speaker, Section 25(1) of the same law, Public Finance Management Act, where in respect of any financial year, it is found that the amount appropriated by an appropriation act is insufficient, or that a need has arisen for expenditure for a purpose for which no amount has been appropriated by the appropriation act. A supplementary estimate showing the amount required shall be laid before Parliament here. Let me wait for the Speaker and the Minister of Finance.
Look, I just want to make a request, okay? Yes.
Maybe let me finish this statement, sir.
Please, Lope, please. I'm going to suspend the House for 10 minutes, and I will request the Minister for Finance, the Chair, Budget Committee, the Shadow